So we're feeling guilty, we're feeling ashamed, we feel like, oh gosh, now somebody's mad at me, and we think they probably have a good reason. So, for example, I needed a piece of information, and the easiest way for me was just to call somebody else at the hospital. The software for this and this hospital is just pretty antiquated, so making a phone call is so much easier. Well, the person I called was very busy and made a point to say, it wasn't his job to give me that piece of information. And he's right. It's not his job. I was coming to help his department, but it's not his job to help me help his department. So I could have gone down the road of, oh, he was upset. He didn't want to help me out there. I should have, whatever, gotten the information some other way. But if I go down that shaming path, that guilt path, and of course it could be some much bigger error that maybe we made a car accident or who knows what we did. Well, now we're concerned that we've become a hindrance or a burden or an obstacle in somebody else's life. This will only cause us more stress, which will not make the rest of our day go well. And it really keeps us tied into the recurring patterns of the mind. The mind is a constant fixer. And it's always looking for problems, always looking for people to blame, always looking for where it can provide a new solution. And it wears us out. All day long, it's exhausting. But there's a really simple solution. In these situations, I just look to see who is now deserving of my gratitude. So this person who, was, a little upset, I am so grateful to him because he did help me. He gave me the information. Now look at that. All of a sudden, I'm noticing something good in the world. Yeah, maybe he was a little short, and maybe I was trying to help somebody under his care, but he did help me. He gave me the information I needed. And when I turn my attention away from myself and to the place that is carrying the weight of my error, for example, I can feel gratitude. If I had a car accident and I hurt somebody else, I can be grateful that they're having the strength in their life to go through whatever they've got to go through. That they've got the resources, they're finding the support, they're taking care. Like there is help showing up for them. Or wherever that help is showing up for them, I can be grateful for that. So the idea here is rather than keeping the narrowed focal attention on myself and what I did wrong, we switch out and start looking outward. And the first place to look is gratitude for whoever is stepping up to the plate, given what I brought into the world. I could have yelled at my husband or my child, and then I could be grateful that they're finding the resources of how to deal with that. Maybe they yelled back at me, which is a great way to set a boundary. Fantastic. They were bouncing my energy back to me. Thank you. Or it could be anybody in the world that now I've impacted negatively. Say I was late paying a friend. Well, look at that. They're handling my delay in paying them. Or maybe I was impatient with my parent or with somebody who's being slow around me and, I did something brusque to them. Well, I can be grateful. Look at that. they figured out how to go forward. They let whatever I do just process through, and they're going forward. And I can be grateful. Grateful that they were the holding for whatever it was that I was discharging at the moment. This is what we are. This fabric is so interwoven, and it's designed for this push and pull, this give and take. It's designed that sometimes I'll be the one that's releasing, and somebody else will be the one who's taking my discharge in whatever way they do. And if I add a burden of shame, add a burden of guilt, it's just pulling in tighter, pulling that fabric into a sinkhole. But if I expand back into thank you for taking it, thank you for bearing whatever I put out there, then I'm back opening up the fabric. So whoever it is that is the recipient, regardless of their response, maybe they overreact to me. It doesn't matter. I can still be grateful. I can be grateful that they were the holding, they were the receptacle, and now they're finding the resources, figuring out the tools, whichever tools they use for dealing with it. Sinking into guilt, really, what is that? Who does that serve, right? We might have a should. Well, if I do something bad, I should feel guilty. And that just reifies this sense that, well, I'm actually a good person who doesn't do that because look, see, I feel guilty about it. Isn't that interesting how we do that? You can look at all kinds of situations where, we'll notice, but I felt bad. We add that at the end. I felt bad about that. Could be something our government is doing, but I feel bad that they're doing that. And the reason we're saying that is actually to reify this sense that I'm a good person. We're just building in the ego more and more strong, this mental identity. But when we're being grateful to someone else, that isn't building that mental construct. When we're being grateful to somebody else, we can feel that there's this good flow. And the good flow is this person holding the space for us in whichever way they do it, reactive or non-reactive. But we're recognizing that we're completely interlinked, and we're noticing that we don't take any particular role and somebody else doesn't take any particular role. But in this moment, I did something that looked like a mistake, and somebody else was the goodness holding it, the goodness spreading it out, the goodness having a response, the goodness figuring out how to manage it, the goodness in all kinds of ways. So it doesn't have to fit any particular rule. And that's where we find inner peace, when we're out of a rule-based way of living and we're back into this mysterious, benevolent flow. It's always better than we imagine. And gratitude grounds us back in that. It's always better than we imagine.